How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay.
Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now.
Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com. Brought to you by Glisten and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a successful motivational speaker and trusted life coach, Nancy knows how you can live the life you want regardless of the challenges you face. Although she's legally blind, Nancy's mission is to inspire others to overcome obstacles and live life full out. Call in at 800-333-0001 to ask Nancy for advice on topics such as relationships, finances, business, health, and more. Just call 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Everyone's having a great Saturday. You know, today we're going to be talking about advancing in life, what we need to do to move ourselves forward. Now, sometimes we're given circumstances in life that feel as though we are limited. We have no ability to change our situation. But if you really look at your life, you look at the opportunities around you, that is not the case. Even if a circumstance in your life feels as though you can't make a change, I want you to challenge that theory. I want you to look beyond that and know that if you are able to tap into motivation, if you are able to be vulnerable and courageous enough to ask for help and seek resources, then truly anything is possible. You just have to be willing and able to dream big, to know that your life is worth it. And then you too can advance forward so you can live your life full out in a big way. We're going to be taking your calls in this segment and our last segment. That number again is 800-333-0001. 800-333-0001. Now, trust me, when I talk about advancing in life, I've been there. I have so been there. Losing my vision and going legally blind has been, I don't even think challenging is the word. I would say scary. I would say troubling, challenging. But at the same time, it's taught me a lot about myself. It's taught me survival skills. It's taught me to be resourceful. And the reason why I bring those positive outcomes up to you is because you want to look inside yourself and be proud of the growth that you've had when you've overcome circumstances in your life. It's not about looking good. It's not about getting it all right, being perfect, because we all know life is not perfect. People are not perfect. It's about really embracing those flaws. And I don't even want to call them flaws, but they're just little unique nuances of who we are. So consider today over the course of this show, what is holding you back? And then when you want to consider what action can you put into place today to help advance yourself around, over, under, beyond that challenge that's in your life that may be holding you back. I know for myself, I had to get very resourceful over the years. I have low vision aids that help me see and hear things. I have a great staff and team that are my eyes when I can't see. And really, it's about finding ways to get creative. This is your life. You're the captain of your ship. Remember that. Wherever you want to steer your journey, that's anything's possible. So again, the number to call in is 800-333-0001. We're also going to be having a very special guest coming up in our next segment, Peggy O'Neill. And I'm going to save her story for the next segment, but surely she is an amazing, dynamic speaker, author, and beyond, and you're going to want to hear from her. And one of the things that I think is really important, again, as we prepare to go through this show today, is just lead with an open mind, lead with an open heart. I think sometimes we're so guarded, we're so scared to make a change in our lives that we stay stagnant, we stay paralyzed. But the only way to get out of where you are to where you want to be is to take that courageous step. And you can absolutely do that today. I believe in you 100%. We're going to go to the phone lines now. Welcome to the Living Full Out Show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
I'm great. So tell us, what's going on today?
Actually, you mention, the reason I called is that sometimes you have to keep an open mind or else you'll be stagnant. And I feel like I've been really stagnant in my relationship. And I'd just like to know why and how I could fix that, maybe make things more interesting.
How long have you been in this relationship?
A year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, about that time, yeah.
And is it stagnant just for you, or do you feel like on both sides you're both at kind of this stuck point?
I think probably like maybe more on like my end, but it could be like on his end too. Maybe we're just too comfortable or what that is. But I think we're both, ready to make things interesting. So I just don't know how to do that.
Well, there's a lot of different ways that you can shake things up. And, you really have to consider your partner and how comfortable they might be or how open they might be. I'm not saying you have to go 50 Shades of Gray, but, there are different ways that you can stimulate conversation. For example, there's a lot of books that you can get, audio or a traditional book, that will help steer conversations for you. These are thought-provoking questions that will, if you were a superhero, who would you be? What would you be? If you were in a natural disaster, what would be one thing that you would want to have with you? Challenge each other to go deeper than you have gone in the last year and a half. And sometimes with these questions that you haven't thought of yourself, it'll open dialogue. And again, you might also step out there courageously and say, what do we want our future to look like? I'm sure you've heard of vision boards.
No,
or have you heard of those? So a vision board, a vision board is like a collage of photos that you put together, or it might be quotes, or it might be pictures of your past, or again, things that you want in the future. And you just kind of put that together as a vision for what you want. Maybe it's a house, maybe it's a trip somewhere, maybe it's growing a family, maybe it's going back to school or getting a different job. When as a united front, you're both sharing the same dream, now that's something to get really excited about, because every little thing that you both do moves that collective dream forward.
Like you're working towards something.
Exactly. And then sometimes the toughest question is, do we even know our partner's dreams? Do we know what they are? There's a gentleman I'm dating right now, and he asked me the other day, he's like, I'm going to make all your dreams come true. And I'm like, what are my dreams? And then there was silence.
Right.
All right. So I'm just saying that sometimes it's important to check in. What are my partner's dreams? I think I know what they are.
That you think exactly. You think you know what they are, but you don't exactly know. But vision board is definitely on the list. Yeah.
So I would research conversation books. Get one of those to help steer dialogue. Consider a vision board. Just really be vulnerable enough to step out there and check in with each other in a deeper way than you have. And I also believe in both stimulating the mind, the emotion, and then physically. So you want to think about, as a collective whole, how can we advance ourselves both emotionally, physically, and mentally?
Yeah. You did mention that I had to be vulnerable. What did you mean exactly by that? Like open-minded or allowing yourself? Because I associate that word with like being weak, so maybe I'm like getting it wrong in my head.
No, thank you for mentioning that. Vulnerability is actually not weak. I think a lot of people think it is. But when you're vulnerable, you're showing a tender, honest side. There are people that I've met over the years that will be open enough to talk about all sorts of things, wanting to kill themselves. I have a client who is dealing with a sexual disease that she has. I have, and she has to tell her partner. I have different people that are, maybe they're going through bankruptcy, and oh my gosh, to even tell anybody that
it's terrifying.
That I have no money.
Yeah,
it is terrifying.
Talk about it. It makes it real,
It does. But when you can be vulnerable, it is the most liberating experience, because it's off your chest. Scary, but it's off your chest. It's out of the closet now. You've said it, but at the same time, it allows that other person to say, "Wow, you trusted me enough with that information." It's like it connects people more than you'd ever think.
separates them. Yeah,
try
more
being
than it
vulnerable.
separates them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so whatever you feel is something that you've been holding maybe back from your partner on, or maybe something you're embarrassed about or ashamed of, just be willing to take that risk and say, this is something I've just been kind of struggling with, and I'm embarrassed by it. I'm stressed out by it. And you know what? I'm going to trust this information with you because I know that, you got my back. You're protecting my heart. So, I'm going to just bring this to you and see what you think.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So
definitely.
So do keep us posted. We're here to support you. This community is all about living full out. So I know you'll go on to do great things, but do call back in another time and let us know how it goes.
I definitely will. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Likewise. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. So she brings up really great questions. How can she step out there in her relationship? But the funny thing is, sometimes we attach stepping out there in a relationship to only that relationship, when really it's about our own personal growth. As a unit, as a couple, you're only going to be as successful as you feel confident, proud of yourself. If you're in a partnership and one person is insecure and not feeling good about themselves and the other person is satisfied and happy with where their life is, the partnership isn't as strong as it could be if that other partner who is insecure could be boosted up a bit. So what you might want to do today, for anybody listening, is become very aware. Open those eyes a little wider, a little bigger, and look at the friends and family and your partner in your life and assess, are they happy? Are they living their dreams? Are we gelling? Are we in the best place we could be? Because sometimes turning to another person and having that kind of quote, quote, check-in can really advance those relationships, whether it be intimate or friendships, to a whole new place. And also, I want you to consider your own self. You don't ever want to feel as though when you're at home at night and the front door is shut that you have to deal with all the stresses and pains and worries on your own. What's that? That's not living full out. To go to bed at night and be worried about the next day or how you're going to pay your bills or friendships lost or whatever it could be, that's not living your highest and best life. So what you want to do is really put yourself out there, be vulnerable so you can live your life full out in a big way. We'll be right back with our very special guests. We'll be back.
Isn't this dinner party wonderful? Jeanette and Bill did so much planning, and the house looks great.
Well, it was almost canceled. Did you hear that Bill was really sick with the flu 2 weeks ago?
No, I had no idea. I've been so busy at work. But my coworker's toddler was in the hospital with flu, too. Is Bill okay?
It was pretty serious and aggravated his asthma. Bill got sick quickly with a high fever. Fortunately, Jeanette got him to the doctor right away. The doctor said it was flu and prescribed a medication that helped him get back on his feet.
I didn't know flu was so serious until I heard Bill say he felt like he'd been hit by a truck. He missed a big meeting at work.
Well, thank goodness Jeanette had gotten her flu shot. Because, she's expecting.
What? Oh, man.
I guess that was another thing you guys didn't know either.
A message from the Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I can't come to the phone right now because I'm abusing my children. Not just verbally, but physically. I'll get back to you.
If only child abuse was this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call Child Help at 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. We've helped millions of people help millions of children. All calls are anonymous and confidential, so call 1-800-4A-CHILD or visit childhelp.org. Child Help. Trust your instincts. Brought to you by Child Help and the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designated texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Today, you hit the snooze bar. You checked your email. You checked your fantasy football team. You rejected an insulting trade offer. You ate your lunch. You did all the things that one normally does the day before a 175-mile-per-hour hurricane blows through your city, leaving it in a state of ruin. You never know when the day before is the day before. Prepare for tomorrow at ready.gov/today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. A professional motivational speaker, Nancy can help you overcome obstacles and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back to the Living Full Out Show. My name is Nancy Solari. Happy to have everyone here with us today. So as I promised, we have a very special guest that I'd like to just jump into because she's so fantastic. I want everybody to really get this. At 3 foot 8 inches, I have never met I've never met anybody so big with a vision, so loud, so tall with her personality. I'm telling you, this is somebody who I want to call my friend because she is somebody who I feel will make a huge difference, not only just today, but beyond, in sharing her message of inspiration. I'd like to welcome Peggy O'Neill. Welcome, Peggy, to the show.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Nice to be here.
Oh,
Hi.
man, I was so excited last night to talk to you. You are not only fun, but you're inspirational. My kind of gal.
Thank you.
So I want to kind of take our listeners back a bit. Can you share with us, just from a I guess medical standpoint or just from an educational standpoint, a little bit more about your health, your growing up, all of the things that started in the early years from you, so we can kind of define and they can kind of understand your early years journey.
Okay, great. Did you already describe a little bit about me, that I'm a little person?
I mentioned that you're 3 foot 8 inches. Yes.
Okay, great. So,
but define what little person is, and help our audience understand maybe, what is the amongst little people, what is the scale of heights, and what does that look like?
Sure. So, another term for little people is a person of short stature, and that's exactly what it is, a person with short stature.
Right.
And the average 80% of all little people have one type of dwarfism called achondroplasia, and their height is usually 4'2", 4'3", maybe for guys 4'4", in that range. For other types, the other 20% of all little people have over, they say, about 200 different types of dwarfism. So there's lots of different bone structures in a typology, like a certain kind of bone structure around the legs or the chest or the arms or the fingers, or a combination, most of them, a combination of all of those that give the different distinctions. And then in each category of what we call a type of dwarfism, there are variations. So once if you're a person like me who's been going to Little People conferences, we have national conferences every summer in different city every summer, and we have local and regional conferences throughout the year. If you're used to going to the conferences, you will be acquainted with the different types, and so you can, sort of recognize them when you see them. So my type of dwarfism is called, get ready, acromesomelia, and it has no medical conditions, which is extremely rare for little people. Most little people have medical conditions with their hips or their legs or their joints, and have had medical procedures, maybe several of them by the time they're an adult. So I got to sidestep all that. I'd never had any medical procedures.
Well, that is great, and you educated me the other day. You've opened my eyes wider and my ears a little more clear because, you in your world, you're considered a little person, but everybody else is an average person. And Peggy corrected me the other day.
There's actually a distinction there. It's not an average person; it's average size person.
Average size person. See, I love that. I love it. And part of that is educating. And so thank you again for correcting me, because I think it's important that as we get to know each other and all of our different lifestyles and, circumstances differently, I think learning the terminology is critical. Now, in your family growing up, you had a brother who was also little, correct?
Yes, I grew up in a family that had all average-sized people, all my relatives, aunts, uncles, grandparents, parents, and I have 2 average-sized sisters. And my oldest sibling is a little person, then came the 2 average-sized sisters, and I'm the youngest, and I was also a little person.
Also a little person. And I'm just curious. And I'm just curious, how, growing up little, because I know you said that your brother was, I think, 8 years older than you, so you didn't really grow up together as much, but what was it like growing up for you? I mean, I imagine at the early years, perhaps you and all your peers were of the same height, but then obviously that changed over time.
Right. How was it growing up? I mean, that's a loaded question, kind of, but it was challenging because there were so many kind of situations and circumstances where I was getting the message that something was wrong with me. My brother, in terms of my brother being a support for me, he wasn't really, he wasn't really available to talk about it. We didn't really talk about the fact that we were little people. My parents didn't know the terminology. They didn't go to Little People of America conferences because we didn't have medical issues, my brother and I, because we have the same type of dwarfism, which is usually what happens when there's more than one little person in a family. The children usually tend to have, they always have the same type of dwarfism. So they didn't have to go to the doctors and do all that stuff. So we never really were in a community where people were talking about it. And I was born in the 50s, my brother in the 40s. And so this is a long time ago before sort of special needs was mainstreamed and all that kind of stuff. But my brother and I went to average-sized schools, the mainstream schools, mainstream camps, and we participated in a lot of mainstream sports with average-sized kids.
What were some of those messages that you got, though, when you were younger? What were some of those clues or messages that kind of hit home to you?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of, and still is, pointing, steering, kind of like patting on the head, people, stooping down and talking to you like you're a child. When I was a kid, that was probably appropriate. It's not so appropriate now. In sports, I wasn't able to run as fast, jump as high, hit the ball as far. So was I picked first on the team? No. Was I picked somewhere down the line? Probably, because I gained a coping mechanism that I developed was being friendly and popular. I always have had a lot of friends.
And you were very vulnerable with me, which I really am thankful for, when you were talking about dating and how that was for you. What was that experience like growing up?
Yeah, that was really a bummer. It was sort of like, I just sort of anticipated that part of my life. I think this is part of it.
Hey, Peggy, if you could just speak up a little bit. We're having a hard time hearing you. Just
okay, sorry. I
there you go.
Phone down for a sec. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay, good. I was saying that it was a very difficult time, and it was difficult because I didn't anticipate that it would be different than what was happening for my friends. Nobody, talked to me about that. And so I just was like, oh, I'm 15, 16. My friends are starting to go on dates. That's going to happen for me, too. And it didn't. And then in college, when people are, like, having boyfriends and sleeping over and all that stuff, that wasn't happening. And although I had a lot of friends, so I could say that I felt a lot of inclusion on the level of friendship and not sort of on equal ground or equal playing field when it came to the dating game.
And I'm just curious, Peggy.
That was hard. I mean, it was hard to have. The hardest part was that guys would be very friendly and would develop actually a very close relationship with me, especially in my college years when there's like a lot of time to hang out and all that stuff. You're doing stuff together, weekdays, weekends, going on trips together, and that kind of more whole romantic relationship didn't develop for me. That was really hard.
And I'm just curious, Peggy, because various listeners today that may be listening may be having their own circumstances. Maybe they feel they're overweight and that's holding them back, or
right.
there could be maybe it's a culture thing or a race thing. But what was it that you turned to during those times? Because I know I've had those times when you just want to crawl into a shell, or you just, I don't know, you just feel a little hopeless. What did you do during those times?
Well, I had coping mechanisms like everybody has, So one of my coping mechanisms was to ignore it and pretend that it wasn't happening. That was definitely going on. Sort of like
denial.
Put on a happy face.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing was to just engage with friends socially. That was very helpful. And I was an ice skater as a kid, and I engaged in that, and that was really helpful because I was skating before and after school every day and on the weekends. So a lot of my friends would be doing dating and going with boys after school and stuff, and I'd just be at the rink. And I'd be going to bed at 9 o'clock because I got up at 5 to get at the rink at 5, to be on the rink at 5:30, that kind of stuff. So
I imagine you felt free on the ice and able to be yourself and just be the fabulous you that you are. We have to go to a commercial. We have to go to a commercial break, but when we come back, there's more to your story. There's a more personal development that you had to go through, and then some large successes were coming for you. So when we come back, we'll go into that.
Okay, great.
Okay? All right. So we'll be right back. We're going to go to commercial break, and we'll be back more with Peggy O'Neill.
Hi, professional skateboarder Tony Hawk here with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck to remind you to get moving every day.
Because when you get moving an hour a day,
you'll have the energy to skate through anything.
Nice play on words, Doc.
That's how I roll, Bugs. So whether you like to work the half pipe,
now that's catching air,
kick the soccer ball around, or dance in your room,
just move it your way.
For an hour a day.
The way you like to move, as long as you're moving.
Carve out some time every day and get active. Because it's time to do a 180 on what you think exercise is.
Because it can be whatever you want it to be. So be a player.
Be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day, Doc. Check out how to be a player at letsmove.gov.
Head online to get tips on great ways to get moving every day.
At www.letsmove.gov. Let's hear that one more time, Doc. That's www.letsmove.gov. A message from the Ad Council and HHS.
I want to change some things. I want the moms where I live to have childcare they can trust.
I want to make sure my little brother and his friends have a safe place to play.
I want to help more kids graduate from high school.
Help more hardworking families learn how to budget and save.
I want more of my neighbors to have access to health care.
Want to make a difference? There are so many ways you can. Help create opportunities for everyone in your community.
I want to change what I see around here.
United Way is creating real, lasting change where you live by focusing on the building blocks of a better life: education, income, and health.
I mean, I just want to see more smiles on my sidewalks.
Reach out a hand to one and influence the condition of all. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. For more, visit United Way at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a trusted life coach, Nancy will help you overcome setbacks and embrace all life has to offer. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Hello, everybody. We are back to the show. Can't believe it's going so quickly, but we are still here within our interview with Peggy O'Neill. And she just shared with us in our last segment about what it was like growing up little and, some of the challenges that she faced, as not only a child, but, throughout her teenage years. And, Peggy, I want to welcome you back to the show.
Thank you.
Hi. So,
Hi.
You shared so much with me on our previous call, but one of the things that I know is still hard for you to talk about today, but I think it's really important to bring up is, at one point in your life, you just got to a crossroad where you felt hopeless, where you just weren't feeling like your life was really serving you in the way that you wanted, and you pretty much wanted to give up. Can you share with our audience about that time?
Sure. It was in my mid-30s. I was living in Hawaii in a very idyllic situation in a community with friends, and outside everything was very idyllic, paradise-like, and on the inside something totally different was happening. I was depressed. I was feeling hopeless and powerless, and most of all, I think I just was filled with self-doubt and self-loathing. And my life was very, very painful. I had a lot of failures, many, many failures at relationship. My attempts at working and being in trying to establish a career and all that. I had some really big tumbles in that area too. And at that time in my life, I'd wake up in the morning and it was so painful, I didn't want to do another day. So I did have a very dark night of the soul at that point in my life.
Mm-hmm. And you really wanted to, at that point, commit suicide and just, you didn't want to be here anymore. Now,
right,
what
yeah, every
was
morning I'd wake, kind of entertain, okay, if I was going to commit suicide, how would I do it today?
Mm-hmm.
And come up with all these plans. But I didn't enact it because I just felt that in the big picture, it would not be a good thing. I'd just encounter more difficulty at a future time. So I figured there's lessons for me to learn. There's this challenge has come to me for a certain reason, and I actually said a prayer, and I got guidance to go to. A friend showed up and told me about a personal spiritual growth school called Diamond Heart in Boulder. Well, the school had several different locations, but anyway. I went to a weekend meeting, and I had some very profound insights about something that I call my true nature, and I had a recognition that there was a personality side of me, which was more what I would call my surface self, my superficial self, and there was a deeper part of me that is vast and beautiful and unbounded and precious. And one day when I was working in the school, I was doing some anger work, and I actually laid back on the pillows after I had punched them for a good 45 minutes or so, and I closed my eyes, and inside my heart, I saw something that completely changed my life. And what it was a diamond. This diamond was not like the one you wear on your finger. It was bigger than my entire body. And streams of light were going out in every direction, and facets were glistening in rainbow colors. And I was just completely overwhelmed with the beauty of my own, which I knew what was being revealed to me was a representation of my true nature, and that it was diamond-like. It was perfect and beautiful and strong and glistening and glowing and just incredibly beautiful and precious.
I'm just curious, Peggy, what was it? I mean, you go to this retreat and you have these revelations and you do all the therapies and the work and everything they ask you to do. But what do you think it was that clicked, that made you be able to tap into that deep side of yourself?
I think what I know from doing it a million times and what I teach in my particular, I do similar work as you know, Nancy. I'm a speaker and a coach, all that. And I've written some books. Is that what I teach people is that when they go through, actually stay with the emotions and be honest with them and actually feel them and give themselves permission to feel the fact that they feel angry or frustrated or hopeless or hatred or rage, so things that we don't even want to talk about in our culture, that they actually feel them and express them. When you allow that energy to move, the veil is removed and you're connected immediately with the deeper part of yourself. It's repressing all of the difficult emotions that keeps us separate from that difficult part of ourselves. If you look at children...
Yeah, we were actually just talking about that.
Children are a great example of that free flow of true nature. And as time goes by, they repress and repress more emotions, and they get more and more disconnected.
Now, it's interesting because after this revelation, after this really amazing night, your life did advance. One of the things that I think is so amazing is here you were for so many years struggling, confused about dating and connecting with people, and then, sure enough, you met your husband.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So once I got that I was valuable and beautiful, then I could start to allow myself to receive that someone else thought I was lovable and beautiful. And I met just a couple, maybe within a year after I had the experience of my inner diamond, I met my husband, and we met at a Little People's Conference. He's also a little person. He's very handsome and really a great, wonderful, loving, accepting human being. It was very easy to hang out with, become close with, and he moved to Boulder directly, which is where I was living. He moved from Wisconsin, and we were dating, and we got married a year later, and we had a great relationship, and that went for about 17 years.
Wow. And that kind of gave you, I don't know if it's closure or how did that make you feel to know that you had finally found love, that you had finally connected with someone and that you had such a love for yourself?
I guess it confirmed that inside of me, just like inside of everyone else, love exists. And when we find that, acknowledge it, and start to live and emulate that from inside of ourselves, it's reflected from the environment, and people show up in our life who are more loving. That's what it taught me.
Absolutely. Now, your marriage lasted for 17 years, and it was successful and wonderful. But then, you transitioned. Obviously, I think you said you got divorced, but
I did,
and then you were back to dating again. And the reason why I find that so important to bring up is because life, as we know, is full of transitions. The people that we're with aren't always with us. Divorce might happen. Somebody might pass away. And so, but this time you didn't crumble.
No.
And why is that? Why is that?
Because I had because I had a connection with my deeper self, with my true nature. And in that, there were qualities of strength and power and support and guidance that I had connection with and communication with, and they arose as I needed them, and happiness and bliss and inspiration, all those things that are inside of me, and they arose as needed. And I also had my sense of self-esteem, or my sense of who I am in the world, was in a much stronger, healthier place when my marriage ended than it was before my marriage. So because I had grown, and then I had matured through the years, almost 20 years of that relationship.
I'm just curious. Obviously today you're a successful speaker. As a woman, you've advanced so much in terms of your own personal growth. But are there still triggers today, things that people say or do that kind of take you back to those insecurities of childhood again? Are there, now being single again and dating, and I'm just wondering, are the same challenges there that were before?
Definitely. I mean, there's definitely this pointing, the staring, the kids laughing. There's the difficulty of getting close with men because they feel safe with me for some reason, and then having them pull away, and getting mixed messages from them. Those conditions are there every day. And because I have a greater sense of that love, the real source of love is inside of me, the real source of knowing that I'm an incredible human being and acknowledging myself is inside of me and that's all intact, then they don't become the only source for that. So if someone comes close and they go away, it does hurt, and I do have tears, but I don't completely lose myself and fall apart and get back on the pity pot and spend all my time feeling sorry for myself. I can move on with my life, help other people, and continue to enjoy the incredible moment that's in front of me in, whatever moment is there, that I'm available and present to enjoy it.
Well, that is beautiful. And we just have a few seconds left here before we have to go, but what would be your final motivational thought for somebody listening today who perhaps is little themselves, or somebody who is dealing with similar challenges that you've spoke of in terms of finding their way? What would you say?
Yeah, well, I have a term called inner smallness, and it has to do with any way that anybody feels that they're not enough, not blank enough. And I would say I would like to leave anybody feeling some kind of inner smallness with is that you also have an incredible source of inner bigness and strength and power within you, of beauty and preciousness. And if you do the work to go through what's there in the moment for you, whether it's difficult emotions or hopelessness or whatever it is, to find the diamond inside of you. And even if I have a book, I talk about how to do that. And one quick way to do it is to just close your eyes and visualize a diamond in your heart. See and know that you are a being of incredible preciousness. And keep building that over and over and over, day after day, that becomes the reality of who you are, and then your outer world reflects that to you.
Well, I love that. And Peggy, thank you so much for being a part of our show today. You are just amazing. And everybody, we'll be right back after this next commercial break. But thank you, Peggy O'Neill, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah?
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever, so take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Medical mistakes claim tens of thousands of lives every year. The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help. When you communicate with your doctor, when you ask more questions, you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake. Doctors can't answer if you don't ask. Help reduce your risk. Questions are the answer. Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
I'm getting a catcher's mitt.
I'm getting ice skates. I'm getting a devastating flood.
Adults are generous. We're even giving kids global warming, but we can still reduce greenhouse gas pollution. Go to fightglobalwarming.com. Brought to you by Environmental Defense, the Robertson Foundation, and the Ad Council.
There are many sounds in your daily life. Ones that make you smile. Ones that help you relax. And there are some sounds that can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you critical information about emergencies in your area. With updates from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know wherever you are. Learn more at ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is President Barack Obama. In the story of America, the greatest chapters are moments of challenge, when we see people serving their country and one another. Volunteers who step forward into hospital corridors and church basements, along levees and fire lines. And the next chapter is yours to help write. Sign up to volunteer at usaservice.org. That's usaservice.org. Let's renew America together.
A message from Renew America Together, brought to you by the Ad Council.
To live full out in life is to be open, to be vulnerable, to be willing to be courageous, to step forward and really grab your life, embrace your life in a big way. To advance your life means that you have the control to take those steps, to assess, put together a plan so you can achieve those goals and dreams. Don't consider yourself as a small fish in a big pond. You set the size of that pond, or some cases, there is no pond. You're beautiful just as you are.
You're listening to Living Full Out with Nancy Solari. As a certified life coach, Nancy can help you to overcome challenges and start living full out. Call in with questions live at 800-333-0001. Once again, that's 800-333-0001. And now, here's Nancy.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Living Full Out show. Wow, we are in the fourth segment. I cannot believe it. But I really want to say thank you again to Peggy O'Neill for her, vulnerable and very moving interview, because, the thing is we can all feel just small in life. And I don't say small related to, Peggy being little. I just mean at some points in our life, we allow people to point fingers at us, to make us feel as though we are not good enough, that we have something wrong with ourselves. And really, that's not the case. It's just about finding what is unique about you, what is special about you. And sometimes that could just be the littlest things or big things. If you're really good at technology, oh my gosh, I'm in awe of those people. If you have that mindset, I want to be your friend, okay? If you are somebody who's a good cook, amazing. Again, one area of my life I wish I was better at. Find out where your strengths are and really execute on those strengths. Make them even bigger than you are today. And if you are feeling as though there's areas in your life that you'd like to work on, well, consider that as an opportunity, a way to challenge yourself. And I'm not talking about losing weight or working out. I mean, obviously that's everybody's go-to, especially around the holidays. But consider passions that you have, things that you'd like to work on. Perhaps you enjoy singing, but you don't think of yourself as a good singer. You know what? Take singing lessons. Get better. If you're somebody who would like to learn the piano, or again, cooking, or you want to learn a new skill so that you can advance in your career, whatever that is, don't be afraid to take that next step and go after that. Now, some might say, well, Nancy, it costs money and I don't have money. I want to challenge you to look beyond that limitation, because believe it or not, there's a lot of free resources out there, low-cost resources. You might consider what you have in your life that you're good at that you could trade another for, where they could teach you a skill, you could teach them a skill. Think big. Go beyond where you are today. We're going to go back to the phone lines now. Welcome to the Living Full Out show. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Hi, you're with Nancy. How are you doing today?
I am okay. My name is Laree.
Hello.
And I've been listening to your show this morning and talking with Peggy and about making transitions. And I'm very, very newly widowed after 32 years of being married to my best friend. And so his illness was short. It was only 4 months. So I'm sorry. It's just hard to talk about it.
I know. Take your time.
Okay.
Take your time.
I've always been a very positive, upbeat person. And I would just like some help with learning some steps to learn how to be a me after being, a we for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and first of all, what was your husband's name?
Bob.
Bob?
Yeah, Bob and I were together for 33 and a half years and married for 32.
Well, the first step is to never cry for Bob, because Bob had a wonderful wife for 32 years, his best friend. And I like to think that Bob is in a place now where he's not hurting, he's healthy, he's not in pain. And, when we have best friends, we always want the best for our friend, right? So
true.
If Bob is now transitioned to a new life, not without you, he's waiting for you one day, but if he's transitioned to a new life, we just want to love him and wish him well and talk about him often and never lose sight of that love. But at the same time, I promise you that Bob would want you to be happy. And
yeah, he said that.
Right. And he would want you to be
He said that before he passed.
Exactly. So how do you find happiness again? I think sometimes we're afraid to let go. We're afraid to embrace being an I, a me. But remember that before you ever met Bob 32 years ago, you were an I, you were a you, and a me.
True.
Okay? And you,
but I'm not that same person.
Well, but you know what? But you know what? The funny thing about that is I heard you just giggle. You went from a cry to a giggle. Okay? And the reason why that's important is because, yes, you're not going to be that same person. You're a better version of that person.
I like that.
Yeah, you're a better version of that person. And so to become an I, a me, a you, that's actually it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. This is the time for you to go and do things that you've always wanted to do. Things that you didn't want to do way back when, or things that you maybe didn't even do when you were a couple. But this is kind of your time. This is your time to explore who you are today as a woman and where you want to go. And, I'll share with you that my mom, who's one of my best friends, when I think about becoming a widow, and she went through that, her first husband, my dad, they got a divorce after 20 years, broke her heart. But then she annied up again for about 4 years later and married my stepfather. And then he died of leukemia after years and years of a fight. And then about another maybe 4 years later, she met through Christian Mingles, her current husband, Paul. And now they've been married 2 years. And my mom is in her 70s, and she got married when she was 70. My grandfather, he was married to his wife for 52 years, and she passed away from cancer. And he let 6 years kind of go by to do his own thing, personal growth. But then in his 80s, he got married again to his current wife. And today he's 90. I only tell you that because when we have to let go of loved ones, there's new chapters ahead for you. There really are. And it might mean more love. It might mean just loving yourself, loving your friendships,
Yeah. I'm not even worried. I'm not worried about being alone. I'm just and I guess worry's not the right word. It's just I'm so used to being us and doing things together, and I just navigating it now without him with comfort and not let the grief overwhelm me.
Well,
it's too soon to think about dating or anything like that. I'm not interested in that.
I understand. I only shared that with you just because we evolve and we grow. But the thing is right now, you just want to really focus on you. You want to focus on what brings you happiness, meaning that, is there something that you enjoy doing? Do you enjoy a certain hobby?
Yeah, I'm very involved in local community service, a couple local community service groups, and most of my hobbies included him, though. I like to swim, but I've gone back to the pool where we swam together, and everybody there knows, so it's a safe place to go.
Well, you don't want. But you don't want to give up on, you don't want to stop doing those things that you love. And again, Bob would only want you to continue to do those things. It's just finding this new life of being with friends and learning to be with yourself and be happy with yourself. And that's something that, as you know, we have all throughout our life, just being happy by ourselves, right?
Right.
That's a lifetime journey. So, here's one thing that I've learned about you in the short time that we've been together. You are such a compassionate person. You have such warmth in your heart, and the fact that you calling in today and had, even at that moment where you broke down, that's honest, that's real. And every day, just keep being that person, and the pain will start to go a little bit more. You'll feel lighter each day. But the biggest thing is to remember that, Bob, all your friends and family, they love nothing more than to see you smile. Do you understand?
I do. Yeah. And I guess there is a little bit of survivor guilt,
Yeah.
That I am able to go on without him. And
well, here's the thing though. Remember, Bob wants you to live your life full out. He wants you to still go on and do great things in your life. So I'm not saying don't have that survival guilt, but what you want to do is you want to take this life that you have and really live it. Maybe even consider something that was on his bucket list and go do it on behalf of both of you.
Yeah.
You're still an extension of him, and so don't try not to feel guilty about being a survivor. Because I promise you that's one of the things that he loved about you, amongst so many other qualities, I'm sure. And
yeah, if I would have described our life over the last couple of years, we were living full out as a couple and just enjoying, our kids are older and just enjoying each other. And it's hard when you get robbed of that. And so how do I do that on my own now?
Well, you feel the love that you and Bob had. You don't let go of that love, but you just fill it up with more love in a different way. More friendships, more time with yourself, filling it with hobbies. And, we have to, unfortunately, go here shortly, but one of the things that I want you to consider is just anytime anybody asks you to do something, say yes. Just embrace it. Even if you don't feel like it, just say yes and go do it, because that is living full out. That's who, when you guys were a we, you said yes to everything. Don't stop saying yes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I'm going to an event tonight, so it'll be my first solo, so.
Well, you know what? You're never alone because a lot of people love you. But Thank you so much for calling in, and we'll be thinking about you today and beyond, okay?
Thanks for your encouraging words.
Absolutely. Have a good rest of your day. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Well, thank you to everybody who called in today. Really, our last caller, I'll be thinking of you throughout the day. And for everybody today, just remember to advance yourself every day, to smile, to put love in your heart, to know that anything is possible. Because when you do that, the loneliness will disappear. It will fade away eventually. We'll be back next week with a great show. I want to thank our entire Living Full Out team, Mindy, Shauna, Diane, and Rich. And you can go to www.livingfullout.com to catch the show, the replay, and to find out more about our coaching programs. Have a great day.